Hi, my name is Pondor, and this will be Pathfinder Kingmaker any percent. This game is kind of all about you trying to keep a kingdom together and keep it from crumbling, due to various crises that pop up after you take over. So, the beginning of the game, we start off as just a mercenary. We are basically just a mercenary hired by the leaders of this city to basically take over the lands to the south of them because they're kind of a mess at the moment. The areas that we are in charge of, the area that we are in charge of taking over is called the Shrike Hills. It is currently run by a bandit lord who's kind of just, you know, robbing and killing and all this other fun stuff. So yeah, we're gonna go stop him and take that area over, and yes, this is for GDQ Nirok. Yes. So we just got started. We just got told what we're supposed to be doing, and immediately the house that we are in is attacked by said bandits. So we have to go through, fight our way through this area to the leader. Her name is Jamandi. Why is that happening today? Sometimes these two cutscenes play on top of one another, which actually saves a couple of seconds. For whatever reason today they are not. It's a little unfortunate, but it's not the biggest deal.
Test of my abilities. This will hurt.
But I wanna check. Does that actually happen? Yes, that does actually matter. Okay. So confirmation.
I'll take care of it.
So we do, okay, so our character is a sorcerer by class, but we do also kind of play a roguish and also kind of a barbarian style of gameplay at times. We tend to fight a lot of people with giant axes towards the end of the game. But we also tend to run past a lot of people, go invisible a lot, and just come on, Amiri. Okay, I'll take that. There we go. Tend to try to avoid combat as much as possible. Combat is a bit slow, so we try to avoid it when possible. There are multiple fights that we can skip in this section. There are a few that we cannot. That fight right there, we cannot skip. Just like this cutscene, we cannot skip. This cutscene is a little bit funny. So this giant comes up, he casts a spell on these three. That spell actually does have a damage roll. It's not just a pre-scripted effect. It does actually have a damage roll, and on lower difficulties, it does not actually do enough damage to kill the guards in front of him. As you just saw just now, the way that you know is they will take a couple of seconds after the cone of cold actually hits them to die, kind of like bad actors that miss their cue and then have to be reminded, hey, you're supposed to die now. That's basically what just happened to these guys. So we then leave these two little guys behind and come up. We meet a new friend-ish. We never actually speak to her after the prologue. I accidentally clicked on the quest text instead of on the screen. So we have to send our entire party into stealth, because if we are in stealth when this cutscene triggers, we don't actually get into combat with these two. If any one of our 4 party members is not in stealth, even the ones that are way far back, they will try to kill us there. It only matters for the cutscene and the end of the cutscene. It does not actually matter once we're out of the cutscene, so we can immediately leave stealth after that point.
This will hurt.
So yeah. Cool. So we are now making our way through the end of this. We get to say hi to Harem the dwarf. He's kind of the worst. That's Keston. He's also kind of dumb at places, but it's fine. Turn that on our autocast. All right. So we have now made it to the end of the prologue of the game. Well, the last fight of it, at least. So as you can see, there are quite a few people here. There are 4 people that we really want to focus on. We want to focus on these 3 casters here because they keep summoning enemies for Jamandi to fight. And regardless of how fast we beat everybody, if Jamandi is still fighting enemies that keep getting summoned, we can't end the prologue. So we really, really want to take out these channelers as quickly as possible so that they stop summoning people. And then we have Tartuccio here. He has an AoE called Burning Hands. So as you can see, he basically soloed the majority of the people here. And then we just kind of grab a person who's close to Jamani to have them talk to her. And then we immediately find out that Tartuccio is kind of he's kind of a not great person. He kind of throws us under the bus. He accuses us of bringing those assassins in to try and kill Jamandi there. We have to defend ourselves. We do successfully defend ourselves there, as you can see by us not being dead at the moment. You actually can't die there. And let's go in here. We do actually have to go into the options and change this from normal onto auto. That just makes it so that all of the kingdom management and the crisis management that we have to do later on is automated, which saves a ton of time in the run. The kingdom management is one of the bigger mechanics in this game. It is also one of the bigger stumbling blocks for most newer players. But it takes a lot of time, and if you don't want to deal with it, you can just turn that off. You do lose out on a couple of very nice bonuses that you can get by doing it, but it is not at all worth it for speedrunning purposes. So this is Oleg's post, Oleg's outpost, or I can't remember exactly what it's called, but this is Oleg's place. Oleg is a great person. He's a little barkeep. He just kind of wants to be on his own and just be kind of left alone. These bandits here are trying to extort him for money, so we're going to argue with them about it with knives and swords and arrows and mace. Lindsay's doing work today. So we find out here that Oleg is like, hey, there's going to be reinforcements. I have an idea, and his idea is to explode them. That was actually a really good explosion. That did a lot of damage. So here, we basically let our melee guys just do what they want, and we send Lindsay out here to try and kill this bandit out here so that our melee don't have to run quite as far. But because she rolled low on damage, they did have to go out there regardless, but it's not the biggest deal. That little Fae lady, she will be kind of a recurring character, you might say, in this game. She does show up quite a bit. She plays a fairly important role throughout the rest of the game. And we get a couple of pets here. We get a little red panda named Ember, and we get a little kitty cat named Tiger. They give us passive buffs to certain abilities and skills. Ember gives us a +1 to saving throws, and Ember gives us a +2 to both perception and Lord Nature, both of which are very, very important for overworld travel. So I guess I could go a little bit into the build that we are using in this run. The skills that we use, we are putting... so if you are familiar with D&D or Pathfinder tabletop, this game is based on the Pathfinder 1st Edition rule set and game mechanics. So we have skill ranks that we put into certain skills, which allow us to make rolls against those so like for perception, we can see things. For Lord Nature is actually a lot more important than a lot of people think it is in this game, because Lord Nature actually allows you to avoid combat and random encounters on the overworld. A lot of people think that it is stealth. I'm not entirely sure why, but it is Lord Nature. It is not stealth. So we go with Lord Nature for one of our abilities. We actually focus pretty hard on it to minimize the amount of random encounters that we get on the overworld. So that right there is the only mobility check that we really care about throughout the entire run. So we are actually now done with putting points into mobility. We put the 2 in there to maximize our chances with that. And then we start dumping all of our extra points into use magic device. We also take skill focus, use magic device here. Take a large person to help with a couple of combats later on. And we run through here. By the way, Tartuccio, you might remember him as being a humanoid, like a little gnome guy. He is now a kobold. Why? I have never been able to figure out why he became a kobold. Apparently being a gnome was just too easy, I guess. I don't know. But he's a kobold now. He will be a kobold for the rest of the time. And we are about to do the first glitch of the run. Nope. That is the fog wall skip. So this encounter right here is supposed to force you back to the most recent intersection that you have crossed on the overworld. So by doing a certain combination of heap inputs to bring up the rest menu, close the rest menu, and then you hit spacebar to continue your motion, you can then get to another intersection. Since you got to another intersection, that is now the most recent one that you've been to, so the game resets you back to that intersection instead of the one before you hit that fog wall interaction. So that allows us to get into areas later in the game than you normally would be able to get to. So we are not actually supposed to be able to get to this area until chapter 2 at the very earliest. But we can get here at chapter 1 right now, which gets us access to the Heart of Ira. The Heart of Ira is a very, very important item in the speedrun. I forgot to rest. So we're gonna rest right now. Because I forgot. Actually, we're gonna go back. So you want to rest in here. That refreshes all your spell slots. That allows you to get rid of that fatigue that I have now. But we will never have to worry about fatigue again, because that is one of the benefits of the Heart of Ira. The Heart of Ira has two effects. The first one being it makes you immune to fatigue and exhaustion effects. Fatigue isn't that big a deal. It gives you a penalty to 2 of your physical stats. I can't remember which 2 off the top of my head. It allows you to, or it gives you a -2 penalty to them, but that's about it. It's not the biggest deal. The thing that we want to avoid is exhaustion. Exhaustion gives you a -6 to those ability scores, but it also makes your character move at half speed, which obviously in a speed run is less than ideal. So we take the, let's do this, and let's actually save here. I tend to save here for safety's sake, because there could be quite a few things that go wrong in this section. One of the most common ones is I accidentally hit the wrong thing there and everybody gets mad and attacks me, and I don't want those people to attack me. Okay, good. Another thing to go wrong, something that is unlikely to happen most of the time, but every once in a while it can just decide I want to be a real pain, is that trap. This one that was right here. Also, I don't think I've explained traps. I will do that a little bit more in a moment. That trap is a life drain trap, and what that does is that reduces your level. The problem with that is that if your negative level is equal to or greater than your actual level, you die. Which obviously is bad. We don't want to die in the speed, right? It's going. I'll move that over to where I'm used to it being. So we really don't want to have that trap hit us and kill us, but you know, it is a d20 roll to determine whether or not it happens, and sometimes it just happens. It is very unlikely because while we are invisible as we go over it, we do also have a 50% chance to just not get hit, period, by it. So we do have that benefit as well. I am going to go invis in here because we do need to rest. We do need 2 spell slots here, and we only had 1. So we do need to rest in here. Because we are invisible, we get a +20 to our stealth, which is why we have a +27 and not just a +7. So that basically guarantees that we will not be ambushed in this area. Anytime camouflage is successful, you will not be ambushed. That is really unfortunate that that just happened. So that nightmare right there basically just means that we didn't get any benefit from resting there. It is a little bit of a time loss, but I haven't been able to figure out why exactly it happens, because it doesn't happen all the time. So we are now about to do the second glitch of the run. So first off, we need to have Expeditious Retreat, and we're going to just prove that doors are a myth. And there we go. We just walked right through it. So what we just did, we just skipped one of the longest quests in the game to have the privilege of fighting this guy right here. He is Farnaros the Pensive. He is a Lich. He is a normally very, very difficult fight. And I'm going to save because sometimes this tells me no. So you might be curious as to why I just hit this. This turns on turn-based combat. Why would I have turned on turn-based combat in a speedrun? And that is because of this. For whatever reason, if you are invisible, you have the Heart of Ira on, and you initiate combat with somebody, the combat doesn't actually initiate, but turn-based combat actually does go through your attack animations and combat animations at a much faster rate than real-time combat does. So the Heart of Ira usually ticks once per round, which is once every 6 seconds. While turn-based combat and while this is happening, it is actually ticking at once every 2 seconds, so 3 times faster than normal. So this is killing this guy 3 times faster than normal. Also, you might realize he's not attacking us. We're visible in front of him right now, but he's still not attacking us. I don't know why that is. Except for the fact that I do know that the Heart of Ira, the second thing is this damage aura that we have around us. I did forget to mention that. So the Heart of Ira, the active ability, this is the second ability that is very important for the run, is a 2d6 per round active aura that also can fatigue and exhaust the people around it. It is a DC 17 reflex saving throw to avoid that effect. We don't care about the reflex save, we just want the damage to kill him, which will give us a few levels. Just a couple levels here. We do also want to loot him, and we also want to loot this cairn up here, because they give us a lot of stuff. So we just went from level 3 to level 14. Kind of a bit of a level jump, and we have to go through and do a whole bit of leveling up here. So this would be a good time for donations. While I go through these level ups. Actually, before that, we do pick Bane right here for a very specific reason. I will go further into that later on. But it is not because of combat reasons. We never use Bane in combat. Okay. So, yeah. So they would be going through donations and stuff right now while I do this. And then I would be, because a lot of this stuff is just, it would just be repeating. And a lot of these spells don't matter anymore, right? So basically, after Scorching Ray, we don't really care about level 2 spells, so we're basically done with those. And then, what do we get here? Power Attack. I always forget Power Attack for some reason. Haste, literally the only level 3 spell that we care about. Bloodline Feat, improved initiative. All right. So yeah, this, like I said, I would have them take displacement there. I didn't take Bone Shaker there, did I? I really hope I didn't. That would have been bad. That's going to throw me off. We take Greater Invis here, or we could take Phantasmal Killer. It doesn't really matter which one. New Arcana, Animate Dead. This one doesn't matter. I did. I just did a dumb thing. Okay. That's fine. Because there is I don't have greater invisibility yet. Okay. I need to remember to do that. One of these days I'll actually remember all the things that I'm supposed to do here. Oh wait, Baleful Polymorph. That is. My god. Alright. But we are now done with this, basically. Oh, yeah. Expectation. Level 6, we take Greater Heroism. And... oh. Clicked. Feet, Greater Spell Focus, New Arcana. Chain Lightning. Transmutation. Okay. And then... doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Oh, wait, no. Doesn't matter. I always forget Vampiric Shadow Shield. Transformation. Okay. So now that we've gotten our level ups all taken care of, we have to rest again. That gives us all of the spells that we just got, because despite the fact that we just learned them, you don't actually get again? I've never seen that trigger twice. That's fine. So basically, we need to be able to Dimension Door our way out of here. Let's get rid of this. And I'm also going to spend a little bit of time getting my hotbar fixed up, because it is a little bit wonky at the moment. Because it always is at this point. Dimension Door, we want that. Oh, wait, what? Okay. Transformation we'll put here. What am I missing? I'm missing something. Maybe we're fine. Here, let's put this here. Bring this over here. What am I missing? This. All right, that's fine. Okay, so here, this is the normal way. Well, not the normal way, but the way that most people get in and out is they get Dimension Door, and then they can, if you just walk up here, you notice that you do have line of sight there. You can just Dimension Door straight through. Okay, so now that we have all of our spells, Dimension Door is another huge tool for breaking this game. You can skip a lot of different cutscenes, a lot of different, like, entire areas sometimes with Dimension Door, by just Dimension Dooring up cliffs or down cliffs or any of that kind of stuff. So we will be making use of that quite a bit throughout the game. Along with all of, we got a lot of combat-based spells there. Cone of Cold is very nice for some fights. Chain Lightning is super useful. But the most important ones are going to be things like Transformation and Greater Heroism. Speaking of, let's equip all of our stuff here. And there's the Great Axe. We will be using the Great Axe as our primary weapon for the later fights in the game. And for the rest of Chapter 1 here, we will be going through basically everything backwards. So the last thing that you're supposed to do in Chapter 1 is go and fight the Stag Lord. But that's actually the first thing that we do here. Then we will be doing the Old Sycamore, which is supposed to be like the last thing that you do before you go to the Stag Lord. Is it storming or is it just raining? Also, weather is important. Well, not super important, but it can be a problem in the run.
Does Jamonti, the wolf of Resto, think so little of me?
He's very self-important. He's also very drunk.
Did you really think I'd just fight you?
One good thing is you can actually still move around things on this sidebar. Oh, I forgot to turn off turn-based combat. Did not want to do that. Alright, so Phantasmal Killer just one-shot the Stag Lord, which is super good. The wolf. What? Excuse me? What is happening right now? Go away! That was... I've never seen that before. Obligatory, that's never happened before? I've never seen them just ignore me going invisible like that. Like, they would turn away and then immediately aggro again. I've never seen that before. That was super weird. But we got out. It didn't actually cost us any time, I don't think. So everything's fine. Also getting a fair number of random encounters, which is weird. So here is another sneaky section. We kind of, the ideal section here is we get only one fight, and that is with Tartuccio, the boss here. We just kind of go invisible and we just kind of run through. So this section, Tartuccio came in and he kind of stirred up some hostilities between these little fae, the mites, and the kobold, who have been living somewhat peacefully for a while now, up to this point, I believe. It's been a while since I paid attention to the story of this game, but I believe that they were kind of living, you know, in kind of a homeostasis. They were kind of coexisting peacefully, I guess is a better way of saying that. There's a whole lot of traps here. We don't really care about them. Just kind of run over them. They do like 1 damage. And that's if they even hit us. So what we're trying to do right now is we're sneaking around all these different spiders, and there's going to be centipedes later on. The movements of the spiders and the centipedes are random. So sometimes they're just real rough. Sometimes they will just be basically an NFL like defensive line and just block the entire path. Other times they just open up giant hallways for you to walk through. This is one of the better reasons for us to go solo, is because it's a lot easier to control a single player or a single character in this game than it is to control a group of like 7+ or 6+, right? So here we have a whole bunch of centipedes. They are smaller, but there are more of them, and the hallways are a bit tighter. So as you can see right here, and they, of course, so one of the best ways to, there we go. One of the best ways to deal with the centipedes and the spiders is to toggle the Heart of Ira on if they're blocking your path. The majority of the time, especially with the centipedes, the majority of the time, a single tick of damage from the Heart of Ira will kill them. Unfortunately, as you just saw, I got unlucky with both of the ones that I cared about, and it didn't. So here's Tartuccio again. He is giving... That's a portal in front of him. He gave something through the portal. We don't know what it is. And we never find out, actually. So, fun thing about this particular fight. If you target the top... The front kobold that is second from the right with chain lightning, it will kill every single one of them there. I believe it is the only target that will hit... that is in range of every other kobold. Because there are 2 that spawn actually behind you after the combat begins, and there are 2 like ranged kobolds that are way back in the back as well. So there is the majority of the kobolds will miss either one or the other of those 2 groups. That kobold there will hit everybody. So it's always super satisfying whenever I hit that guy and he just kills everybody. It is still a relatively new discovery, and it just feels good every time. Seeing it bounce for like 5 seconds there, it just feels good every time. So we are almost done with chapter 1. We have a few more locations to go through, but not really. There isn't really any more cutscenes until the very, very end. This is the final cutscene. It takes about 45 seconds. And unfortunately in Kingmaker, there is no cutscene skipping. They did add in cutscene skips in their newer game, Wrath of the Righteous, which I also highly recommend. They're both very, very good games. But in this one, they are unskippable. Fortunately, there's not too many. There's 2 more, I want to say, in the game, and they're both fairly early on still. So like once we get past them, we're basically done. We basically told Jathal and the other girl, Valerie, that we never want to see them again there. So they go away, they never join our party, and we do that because the fewer party members that we have, the better, because each party member, as I mentioned, brings their own baggage with them. And as such, they will come up to you at points in the game and be like, "Hey, could you help me out with this?" Or, "Hey, so this guy showed up and he's being kind of rude, and I want to hit him with a bastard sword." Which, that is not a curse, because that is the actual name of the sword. I stumbled over it for a second. I'm like, can I actually say that? Yes. It is an actual term. It is the name of the thing. And it is the one that... Wait, does Valerie use that? Or does she use a longsword? She uses a bastard sword, right? It's been so long since I've used Valerie, I don't remember. Anyway, so the fewer people that you have, the fewer people show up, and the fewer cutscenes you get in the, I guess there are more cutscenes, but they're all, like, dialogue heavy, and you have to actually make choose things and stuff. But, I keep going on tangents. I need to stop. Anyway, these guys. So this is one of the story encounters that you can come up with. Of course, it's storming.
A test of my abilities.
These guys didn't die again. They will. Again, these guys forget. Yeah, see? One of them even attacked me before he died. So I just want to make this clear. Cone of Cold does not have a damage over time effect to it. It is a one and done attack roll. They took the attack roll, ignored it. Everybody else died. They attacked me, and then they keeled over. It happens every once in a while. It's actually been happening fairly commonly lately because my damage rolls have been bad. Oh, that's my last level 1 spell. Okay. I will have to keep an eye on that. How many level 4s do I still have? I have 3 more.
There's something here.
Should be fine.
I have been
one big mistake that you can do there is you can actually leave that area before that dialogue triggers. If you do that, you actually can't progress, and you have to go back in and do that all over again, which is obviously not ideal. I have done it a couple of times in runs. It's never a good feeling when you come out there and this location is not on the map. Never feels good. So this is the final area that we have to go through in this section of the run. All right, so let's turn this on. Where is Vampiric Shadow Shield? It is there. All right, so we have some friends that we got to gather up. We have some Froggos, we have some Doggos, we have a Hoggo that we have to gather up. We bring them all up here to meet with Mr. Bear. He's a bear treant. So we come down here. Because of the extra damage... Oh, the hog didn't actually die. Interesting. So because of the extra damage from the Vampiric Shadow Shield and also the Heart of Ira, we actually can usually kill everybody with a single chain lightning. As you can see, the hog decided that he didn't want to die this time, so we did have to hit him with an axe. So that is actually the last combat of chapter 1. We now go back to Oleg's. We tell them, hey, we did all the things. And then we go. And we actually get our barony. It's not a kingdom yet. It doesn't become a kingdom until later on in the game. But we do actually do that. So you might notice that the pathing that I'm taking here is a little bit awkward. Like, it looks like this one connects right here. Why don't I just go through there? Because later on in the game, we do actually want to... we have a very specific path that we want to take because we need to skip time later in the game while on the overworld. And I will go into further detail into that later on, but it does actually have some fairly like the pathing throughout the entire game will all add up to saving a lot of time at a certain point later on. And I will go more into that as we get there. So if you see me taking weird pathing choices, like seemingly going a little bit out of my way, stuff like that, that is all for that purpose. So yeah, it's not mistakes. I swear, I never make mistakes in this game ever. I do everything correctly at all times.
Lords and ladies,
Today, we are here to honor 3 brave people who have done the impossible.
So here is where we become a baron. This is also where I would say donation time. This one takes a while, and honestly, it's not this one that takes the longest time. It is the next cutscene, which literally has one dialogue option between here and there. It's like almost it feels like it's 5 minutes. I don't know. I'm actually gonna look at the time and see how long it is. We'll say that this one started a little bit before the 30-minute mark, which actually seems really early. So 30-minute mark in-game. It is in-game. Okay, so this is easily the longest cutscene in the game now. There was another one that was a contender, but we no longer do that one anymore. We just skip it entirely. By just skipping an entire chapter later on. We skip the entirety of chapter 6 in this game now. There's 7 chapters in this game, by the way. We skip one of them entirely. We skip chapter 6 entirely. We skip half of chapter 4, and we basically don't do any of the final dungeons of any of the chapters the way that they're supposed to be done. I just realized in the final 3 chapters, chapters 5, 6, and 7, there's only 3 fights that we do. We only have 3 fights in the final 3 chapters. 1 in chapter 5 and 2 in chapter 7. That's it. 1 in chapter 4. No. Yes? No? Yes? Yeah. Only 1 fight in chapter 4 as well. There's actually not that much combat in this game anymore, I realized. Huh. We stealth around and teleport around everywhere instead of actually fighting everybody. I never actually, like, thought about that. We only fight the zombies in the sewers in chapter 4. We only fight Armagh in chapter 5. In chapter 6, we don't fight anybody. Chapter 7, we only fight the Jabberwocks and Nyrissa herself. Spoilers for the final boss of the game. It's the fairy person that I was talking about earlier. Also not spoilers. It's pretty obvious pretty soon that she's, oh hey, not everything's not great with this lady. Huh. Yeah, I never actually put that together. That there's only 4 fights in the last 4 chapters of this game. So let's clear this up a bit, huh? We don't use that, we don't use that, we don't use that. I actually should be using this. I actually should use this a lot more than I do. All the rest of these are fine. Is there anything on here that I want to get rid of? Yeah, we can get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Okay, there we go. So 34 minutes basically, or 4 minutes basically. So it's basically 4 minutes between the two cutscenes. There's not really much that we can do there. Yes. All right. So here is where we're going to be. We will be spending a fair bit of time in this throne room. So the replacement for actually managing your kingdom is skipping time here like this. This does progress through the story much faster than actually going out and trying to do things manually. So we skip time a lot of the way to get to the different chapters of the game that last interaction we had was actually the beginning of chapter 2, where suddenly there are a whole bunch of trolls coming out of the woods, and we have to figure out what's going on there, why they are here, and stop them from eating our subjects. So there's Nyrissa again. She's still pretending to be a nice person. We are not buying it. And here we sell a whole lot of stuff. This is one of the 2, I believe. Oh, I'm completely out. I'm completely out of rations. Okay. This is one of the 2 shopping trips that we have in the game. We buy a couple of items to give us some boost to some very good stats. We buy a bag of holding to help us do a thing. We usually have 2 of those, so we're going to buy 22 instead of 20. And there we go. The main thing, we want to be between 0 and 100. I didn't realize that I wasn't expeditious retreated. That's fine. There we go. We want to be between 1 and 100 pounds in our inventory right now. Between 1 and 53, because you want to keep light encumbrance throughout the game, because medium encumbrance and heavy encumbrance do actually slow your movement down on the overworld, and minimizing time on the overworld is pretty key to the speedrun, which usually isn't there's not really a whole lot of variation on the overworld. It is just it's basically a set route. I did mention earlier that we were going to be picking up another party member. This is going to be him. His name is Ikundayo. The reason that we pick him up is because he tells us where the lair of the... Oh, wait. I'm trying to dimension door up there. I know for a fact that's not possible. He tells us where the trolls are coming from. So he's up here. He is a ranger. We have to recruit him, convince him to come with us. We tell him that we're not going to sit here and wait in ambush because that's slow. We then haste them, walk 5 feet, dimension door down the cliff. We can't dimension door up because we don't have line of sight. We can dimension door back down because we do have line of sight. And then we leave. And now we kick him out of our party and we never see him again. He gave us the information that we needed, and now we boot him out to go and hang out with the rest of the rejects in the unused party section of the game. This is unfortunate. That's really early to get a forced encounter like this. There are actually 3 different types of encounters that you can have in this game. One of them is the kind that you've seen so far, where there is no option to try and avoid them. Those are story encounters. They usually have some kind of interaction or dialogue or cutscene involved with them as well. We can just vanish and leave most of them. There are a couple that we can't, but we can just vanish and leave most of them. There is another one where it will pop up and it will say, you have met a peaceful traveler. That is the skeletal salesman. You can always evade him. There is no actual lore nature roll to get away from him. You can always evade him. So finding him is actually very nice because it is a guaranteed evasion. And then there is the normal one, where you find a random encounter with hostile enemies, and what you do there is there's an option to either attack them or evade them. If you click evade, it then rolls a lore nature check against the perception check, I believe, of the enemies. Or I'm sorry, it's just a flat DC. It's just a flat DC that you have to hit. And if you beat that DC, then you can evade those enemies. So here we are going to be coming up here. I wonder, I've actually never tried having greater invis on for this. We are going to Phantasmal Killer, the dog,
Test of my abilities.
and then we're going to do this. Teleport up. We weren't quite far enough away from those enemies, so to actually break combat from something like this, you need one of 2 things. You need multiple things. A, you need some invisibility, some kind of invisibility. And B, you need to be far enough away to fully break line of sight. So because we were still relatively close to them, even though we were invisible, they were never going to actually break combat. So right now I'm breaking a cutscene trigger. So what I did there is there are certain cutscenes in this game that will not trigger unless you walk into them. So what I did was I teleported into the range of the cutscene trigger. But if I had ever taken a step, I would have triggered it. So what I did instead is I quick saved and quick loaded, which I'm not entirely sure why, but that breaks the cutscene trigger, so you can then move normally, as long as you don't cross that cutscene trigger a second time. So we quick save, we quick load there, that breaks the cutscene trigger. We were supposed to have this conversation with the Troll King there. His name is Hargulka. He's a great guy. We are going to be butchering him with an axe here shortly. So we run through and sneak past all of his different minions here. He's got a whole bunch of troll hounds. He's got a whole bunch of trolls. There are a couple of kobolds here. I am out of level 4 spells again. Interesting. That's actually kind of bad. It's fine. It's fine. So what we're going to do here is we are going to do this. We are going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to buff up a bit, basically, is what I'm getting at here. And then we're going to go and fight this man. So we actually fight both Hargulka and Tartuccio. His name is now Tartuk. We fight them both at the same time. I normally have... some animated dead here to help and give me some extra damage and some flanking, and in regards to Tartuk here, also sneak attack damage. But because I ran out, I forgot to rest before coming in here, so I ran out of level 4 spell slots, so I was not able to do that. Instead, what we did was... Oh, I didn't equip my items from my shopping trip earlier. It's not a big deal.
In due time.
It wasn't that big a deal. It wasn't that much. I think we might have lost like one round, which is 6 seconds. Each round is 6 seconds. And now that we've beaten him, all of the enemies that were out here are gone, so we could just run straight out and leave. And that is the chapter 2. So we skipped a fair bit. So you notice I didn't actually explain why we were doing that cutscene skip outside of just doing the cutscene skip. That cutscene also causes a collapse, which blocks our path up that center pathway there. You can dimension door across it, but that does use more spell slots. And as you saw, we were out of the spell slots that we needed for dimension door at the end. So we have very few spell slots to play around with in that section of the game. So skipping that cutscene allows us to run up that middle corridor and then dimension door up to that broken section on the left, which gets us much closer to the end of the that particular dungeon without having to avoid excess fights and things like that. There's a couple of enemies that will show up and some dialogue that will happen if you run up the normal way. So we skip all that by cutting through that section instead. So this is another section where we're going to be skipping a lot of time here. So this would be another great time for donations while we get everything prepped up for chapter 3. Talking a lot more than I normally do, I think. My voice is already getting scratchy, and we're only an hour and a half into the stream. Okay. So here's a fun bit. We find out that there's some money missing from the treasury. As soon as Casil, is it Casil? Yeah. As soon as Casil, I always get Keston and Casil mixed up, their names. As soon as Casil brings this to our attention, Lindsay's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about a thing. Could you come and talk to me in the tavern?" She literally stole money from us. Just flat out, just stole money from us, which isn't great. Isn't a great thing. Also, this guy's the worst. Wireless Gunderson here, he's the worst. It is actually his fault that the entirety of Chapter 4 happens. Which is literally an undead uprising. By the way, he actually causes an undead uprising. So this is the fake start to Chapter 3. So the official start of Chapter 3 is there, but we can't actually do anything about it yet. We need another thing to happen. I am actually going to rest before we continue because I am missing a couple of spells that I would like to have for what is about to happen. Oh wait, I found out. Yeah, you could start that and then yeah, okay. All right. So this is the actual start of Chapter 3. This is the actual start of Chapter 3. So we find out. So what is happening here is we find out that there are basically people are just exploding for apparently no reason and turning into monsters. So we are currently doing a surgery to try and figure out what is going on. And we managed to find out what it is. It is a seed that is in people's stomachs that then bursts forth and becomes owl bears. Which, in my opinion, to this day, are the doofiest enemies that have ever been in a video game ever. I love them to death. I love owl bears. They are not... I mean, obviously, if I saw an owl bear in real life, you know, it would be pretty terrifying. But in the game, they are just adorable, and I love them. They're just bears with owl heads. It's a ridiculous enemy. So yeah, there's just people just exploding and becoming owlbears, basically, is what's going on here. We find out that it is seeds, and we're like, well, where are these seeds coming from? Well, we find that out throughout the rest of the chapter. It's basically, they're coming from the water. They're coming from the water. I have never actually found that place yet. So let's just... So we go through a couple of false starts here. We come up here. It's like, oh, it's definitely the goblins. The goblins are doing it because they love Lamashtu, which is the mother of monsters, and they're turning people into monsters. So it's definitely them. Which, I mean, they're kind of right. They're kind of also not right. So we come up here. That we come in and invade a goblin village. I don't know why I never turned on the Heart of Ira here. It's kind of dumb. I should also turn on Vampiric Shadow Shield. So we come up here. We pick a fight with the Manticore. Really? That still didn't kill? Interesting. Okay, so that did that. So now we have these goblins. They're trying to execute this other goblin using an owlbear. It doesn't go well for them. Because, you know, owlbears are wild creatures, and they tend to eat whoever they want. Which is this one that's right next to him. And then the rest of them run away, and we have one of the best lines in all video games, Strat Tactical Wardrobal. You know, that's about all you need to know about the goblins in this game. Is the words Strat Tactical Wardrobal. I didn't mean to do that. So this spell right here, Transformation. If you don't know what Transformation does, it's on the screen right now. It's kind of a big deal. +4 enhanced bonus to strength, which actually does not stack with the belt that we have, but it does give us dex. +4 natural armor, +5 confidence bonus on fort saves, proficiency with all simple and martial weapons. The big thing is the last bit. Base attack bonus equals your character level. So as a sorcerer, we have a very low base attack bonus. I cast this spell way too late. Yes, I did. So I usually cast that spell way earlier than I actually did there. We actually can't cast spells while transformation is active. That is the downside to it. You can't cast spells while it's active. It basically turns you into a full martial character as a sorcerer. So I usually cast that a little bit earlier than I did there. I usually cast it while I'm fighting the Manticore, actually. But I kind of forgot, cast it super late, and we still have 46 seconds left on that spell before we would be able to Dimension Door back out. We could run around and leave normally, but there's a cutscene there that's fairly long. There's another fight that we have to go through if we do that, or avoid if we want to do that. And it's just not worth it. It's just easier to just rest. We usually have to rest on down here anyway. Also, this is my least favorite encounter in the game. Actually, we actually got a really good, don't come up here. Don't come up here. Don't come up. Stop. Stop. Go back. Go back.
I do what I must.
Okay, we can leave. So that encounter can sometimes be very, very annoying to avoid, because you start so close. The enemies are all so close to you at the beginning, and you're so close to the exit, and there's not really anywhere for you to really run around there. What day is it? It is Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Interesting. So this is the only time in the main story where the day of the week actually matters. And I am 2 days late, actually. So I need the 17th. There we go. This ambush that we are trying to prep up against some cultists of Lamashtu. We already went through the goblins who worship Lamashtu, so now it's time to go and harass some human cultists of Lamashtu. It can only happen on a Monday. It is the only time in the main story of the game where the day of the week actually matters. This is another cutscene that I kind of forgot about. It is a little bit lengthy, but yeah, there's only one other quest that I can think of off the top of my head that cares about the date at all, and it is a companion quest for Jubilost. I think it's like the 21st of the month or something like that. Is the only day that you can go to a certain place and deal with his quest. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, they don't really make use of the day of the week portion of the calendar beyond this, which I, for one, am super grateful for, because that would be a serious pain for speedrunning. There have been times where I've gotten here without needing to rest, but that is very, very unlikely. And a lot of times it ends up coming back to bite me a little bit, because it throws off my spell slots that I'm used to having, and I end up, there we go. I am going to do this on the way out. So we're going to be going into another area. We are going to be immediately, really interesting. Okay, that's the first time in a long time I failed that check. So we are going to immediately be getting into combat. I used this spell back there because I was really hoping to be able to have that up and ready to go for this fight. But unfortunately, it didn't quite happen that way. Yeah. So we do have a minus... We are missing a +4 attack bonus, but our attack bonus with transformation up is still high enough that we are still very, very likely to hit her regardless. It would have been nice to have that buff up just for a little bit of extra guarantee, but it was obviously not necessary because we hit her with our first 2 attacks anyway. All right, so now that we've gotten all this, we've gathered a bunch of intel, we've gotten a lot of information. Now we need to go back to the capital and talk to everybody and figure out what exactly is the next step. As you can see, I did actually leave that like encounter window open instead of just closing it immediately. The reason that I did that is that as long as one of those windows is open, you can't get another encounter. Which is super nice, because you can just, especially later on in the game where you have like actually a fairly lengthy trip back, you can actually hit sometimes 3, 4, even 5 encounters on the way back if you're unlucky. But if you get an early encounter and you avoid that one immediately, you just have a get out of fights free card for the rest of the trip back. So we will be using that as long as I remember it. The only caveat to that is it only works until your token on the overworld will stop moving normal. So if you are going to a new location and you are like blazing new trails on the overworld, you won't be able to take advantage of that because you'll be stopping pretty consistently. Because you can only keep going until the next intersection. But on return trips, it is very, very useful and can save sometimes minutes, depending on how good or bad your luck is. This is Tristan. We saw him very, very quickly at the Temple of the Elk when we fought the Hoggos, the Doggos, and the Froggos. Where am I going? Kind of lost where I was there for a minute. He's not real. He asked us to do a thing for him, but he's not real, so we're not going to do anything. We will come back to that later. He is a figment. And that is proven in the game. That is proven in the game. A lot of people don't know this, and I'm definitely being serious and definitely am not just propagating a meme that I have in my channel. But he is definitely not a real person. He does not actually exist. He is and I will point out what proof I have in a moment. Game? Game? Okay, another... Let's just leave. Let's just leave and come back in. That's another, I've never seen that before. I've... So him having the axe out means that he was in a combat stance. We weren't in combat, and I couldn't cast any spells. That's also not the right stance for that weapon. All right, we're gonna quick save and quick load here. Try and fix this. This is actually really worrisome. I've never seen this. I don't know what this bug is. I've never experienced this. Hopefully a quick save, quick load fixes it. It did. Okay, we're fine. Everything's fine. Okay, now I know if that happens, I could just do that. Quick save, quick load, and get rid of it. Okay, so that's the second. That's never happened before in this run. Cool, fun. So this is the fight, like, that I'm not scared of this fight. Like, I'm in no danger whatsoever from this fight. But this fight can be annoying. So basically what this fight is we have to kill this guy right here. This goblin shaman, we have to kill him. The problem is he's really stubborn about dying. He really doesn't want to die. The best way to do it that I've found is with Scorching Ray. 28 damage on a sneak attack? It's crazy. So obviously what we would like to have happen is we would like to be able to get him dead in one attack. And if we get a crit or two off of that Scorching Ray, we will. But unfortunately it is only a 20. A nat 20 is the only way to get a crit, which there are some weapons where you can get a crit on an 18 to 20 or a 19 to 20 and yada yada. But that is only a 20 crit. We do have 3 chances, but also every once in a while you could just get a a 20 damage, which is crazy. I've never seen a damage roll that low on one of those.
Abilities.
What do you mean there's still 3 of them dead alive up here? Get out of here. As you can see, I don't really have time to worry too much about collateral damage and, you know, just killing my own people. You know, there's not room. Ain't nobody got time for that. So we now know exactly where things are coming from. They're coming from upriver. Weird how things that are in the water are coming from upriver. Well, upriver is this lake, so we know that it has to be somewhere around this lake. Oh, here, there's a weird place. Womb of Lamashtu. That sounds ominous, and also is referencing a person slash goddess that we've been talking about a lot in this chapter. The goblins worship Lamashtu, the cult of Lamashtu. The very, very easy thing to say multiple times in a row without any issues. So we come up here. Keston's right here. Say hi to Keston. He's fighting some goblins. I'm sure he'll be fine.
There's something here.
So in this section, you're supposed to go up north. This is supposed to be the return path. You're supposed to go up north. You're supposed to do a whole bunch of stuff. We don't need that. I do need this. We're going to do this. Where is enlarge? We're going to cast enlarge person. I should have cast enlarge person before this because this is a rounds per level spell. Enlarge person is minutes per level. But it's fine. Everything's fine. What was the other one? Oh, True Sight. That's right. Nope. 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 All right, there we go. Took me a minute. I misclicked a lot. These two are actually... There we go. So we are doing a bit of a mob, like a mob fight, boss fight kind of thing. Where like none of them are overly dangerous. There's just a lot of them kind of a thing, you know? And a lot of them have either blur or displacement effects, which means that you have a flat 20% for blur or 50% for displacement to miss. Which is why True Sight here is so important. So True Sight just negates that entirely. So you don't have to worry about that at all. You just hit True Seeing, and that negates that ability. The last time I forgot to cast True Seeing, I missed so many times that it added a minute and a half to the time. I lost a minute and a half in that fight simply because I didn't cast True Seeing. Fortunately, that's one of the only times that we actually have an issue with True Sight. And blur effects. So this is what I was talking about earlier. So we got this fairly early, so we get to just not have to worry about encounters for the rest of the time. By using the same combination of keys as if we were skipping through the fog wall. So that would be R to open up the rest menu, escape to close the rest menu, and then spacebar to continue moving. I forgot to rest on the way in. I always forget to rest here, every single time. It's not a big deal. No. Okay, so we're gonna come up here. We're gonna wait for that wolf to attack people. This wolf right here, if you just run up flat out, it will aggro you, and it will aggro onto you instead of onto those guards, and it will follow you all the way up here. Which is obviously not ideal. There we go. So now, I should... Words. I'm still trying to find out the best possible way to handle this particular fight. So this owl bear right here, this big old boy, this is why I like, look how adorable this guy is. Like, look how cute this man is. Like, he's supposed to be super, you know, threatening and intimidating and everything. I'm just like, oh, look how cuddly this man is. So fluffy. Just imagine curling up with that guy and just having a good old time. So I'm not in combat, which is good because I want to buff myself, and buffing yourself in combat and out of combat are very different things. So we will do this. Oh, no, not that yet. Not that yet. We'll do this, and then we will do this. All right, so now we run in. So yeah, we run up. We want to get all of our buffs up, or at least a few of them, so that we can maximize our damage. Okay, you're about dead. Of course I miss. As he's about to die. Okay, there we go. So that actually was probably, yeah, so that, yeah, okay. So we talk, we go up, we talk to Jod there, and then we immediately tell him, hey, I don't want to talk to you, and leave. And that's the actual end of chapter 3. So we are now done with the vast majority of fighting in this game. We actually only have 4 combats that we actually get into and fight throughout the rest of the game. The rest of it is all a bunch of sneaking, a bunch of pathing, skipping time in certain ways, all that, all that jazz. So I'm gonna rest while we do this. Wait, is that real? Wait, you see how the camera like shot down to the bottom right there? Or like shot down to here from the top left? Is this the same map as your like bedroom? But the bedroom is like locked and it's like way up to the top left here. So anyway, we're skipping. This would be another time where I would have donations going through. Words. Because this is again just skipping time through until the beginning of chapter 4. Fortunately, unlike chapter 3, chapter 4 actually does start when chapter 4 says it starts. So as soon as we get an indication that chapter 4 is starting, we can just immediately run out and go and do the thing. And chapter 5 then begins immediately as chapter 4 ends. As soon as we get back from chapter 4 ending, that is when chapter 5 starts. And this is the beginning of chapter 4. Okay. So there is a way. It is not advisable because it breaks the game. You can actually go into chapter 4 as early as chapter 1. Because the only thing that is preventing you from going over there and doing everything in chapter 4 is the same kind of skip as we used to skip the fog wall. I actually did not mean to leave the entire city because I need to shop again. This is the second and final shopping trip of the game. I have to buy some scrolls of mass heal because there are a lot of zombies where we're going. And there are a lot of zombies in the one fight that we have in this area. Because one of them has a very, very good magic staff that we really, really want. Alright, I could use the services of cleric. So we're going to sell a whole bunch of... well, not a whole bunch because we don't have a whole lot. But we're going to sell a number of things. We're going to buy a number of mass heal scrolls. And we're going to leave. On the way out, I am going to actually equip the mass heal scrolls. Because I usually forget to do this for some reason. Nope, we don't want to get rid of Tiger. Tiger is very good. We like Tiger. Where is Ember? Sorry, Tiger. All right. So yeah, we want to make sure that Tiger is activated because he is the one who gives us a boost to lore nature, which does allow help us to avoid encounters on the overworld. All right, so we come back over here. If you remember, once we got to a certain part over here, it forced an encounter which pulled us into Varnhold City, which is way up here. By the way, so we are here. We get that encounter. It pulls us way up here. As soon as we leave, it brings us back to down here, right? So if you can skip past that, which that one is a pretty tight interaction because it happens all the way down here and you move really, really slowly in mountains, as you can see. Wait, no, wrong way. So it is a much tighter timing to get everything, to get your character moving again, to hit this intersection before you get sent backwards, than it is for the normal fog wall scheme. But it is possible. The problem is, if you come down here and you do this, you break the time skipping mechanics in the throne room entirely. It will not work anymore. You will just get blank screens popping up when it's like all of these things happened. You will get a blank screen that pops up instead of anything that happens, and no time passes at all. So it kind of breaks that entirely. Also, we're about to skip half of chapter 4 by casting a single level 1 spell. The Bane spell, this door here is supposed to be locked behind having 3 keys. 3 skull candles, Cyclops skull candles. And there's this huge fetch quest that you have to go through. You have to go through like 3 different dungeons, or 2 dungeons and a book story quest that you could just spam the 1 button through and still win. Which is a little bit weird, but whatever. So like it's this long drawn out thing. One of them has, in my personal opinion, one of my least favorite puzzles in the entire game. Oh, nope, don't want to do that. Just cast the spell, thank you. But the developers put in a little nod to the tabletop adventure path that this game is based off of. So there is a Pathfinder Kingmaker adventure path for the tabletop game that this game is based off of. And in that one, if you cast the darkness spell at that door, it will open. The darkness spell does not exist in the video game version of this. So instead, they chose Bane. So all you have to do to get through that door and skip that long fetch quest is you just run up there with anybody that has divine spellcasting, because they all have Bane. Well, druids might not, because I think they're considered divine spellcasting. I don't know if druids have it. But basically, anybody else that has divine spellcasting, clerics, Inquisitor, which is one of the reasons that we take 1 level in Inquisitor at level 4. Any of those guys, they will have the Bane spell. You just run up, cast that real quick, and there you go. It should even work. I've never actually tested it with a scroll, but I don't see why it wouldn't work with a scroll. So you might even just be able to buy a scroll of Bane and get it from there. So here is Zombie Central. I'm shocked that I didn't aggro those zombies. I'm kidding. This is John, by the way. Hi, bud. He is my kitty cat. He is my buddy. He's one of my kitty cats. He is the one that is most likely to be seen on my streams. He loves to jump up and hang out. And rub his head against my microphone and make noises.
There's something here. Interesting.
Fortunately, we are in an area where I don't really need the keyboard too terribly much for a minute. So I can just hang out with my friend here. So that door is very, very interesting, because if you fail that trickery check, the next best thing is an intimidation check. So we just scare a door open, which is weird, but I'm not going to question it. So that's another mobility check. I told you guys that there were no more mobility checks. Aha, I gotcha. I lied. There is that one, but it doesn't actually matter. We can fail it and still get through. We just take a little bit of damage here. So here is a kind of, like, it can be kind of a rough fight, but it's not really. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. All right. So yeah, we do want to be fully buffed for this fight, because there are a fair number of these Soul Eater enemies that we have to fight here. We do have to actually kill them all. So we want enlarged person, because enlarged person does actually give us a an increased range, which means that these guys that are running back around back here, they are potentially provoking attacks of opportunity, where we can hit them even though they are not within normal attack range. So we're just trying to maximize the amount of attacks that we can do by getting enlarged person there. If it saves even one round, then it is worth it. Which it usually does. So actually, okay, I did also, I am a super liar, because I also lied about the fact that there were only 4 fights left. There are actually now only 4 fights left in the game. I did forget about that Soul Eater fight. And most of them are just kind of just really mean beatdowns. I did completely run in way too early. I did forget that I was not invisible. So as these guys are undead, they do really, really hate being hit by healing abilities. I really, really hate being hit by negative level abilities. So this right here, this quarterstaff, that is the one that we were looking for. It gives us a +2 to the difficulty class of all of our spells, which basically means that the enemies have to roll 2 higher to be able to save against any spell that we cast that has a save DC attached to it.
I do what I must.
This comes in very handy against the next fight, actually. The next fight is the actual boss of the next chapter. We actually do not fight the boss of this chapter. He's kind of short-sighted. He really needs to get glasses. But it kind of makes sense because he is also he's a Cyclops who lost his eye. He doesn't have an eye. He has a fake eye, but it doesn't apparently help him see any better.
There's something here.
So we just kind of run right past him, and he just lets us go. We're not really here to kill him anyway. Oh, this is a cutscene that I usually skip, but I ran a little bit too close and triggered it. It's not that big a deal. It's a pretty quick cutscene anyway. Just, slight optimizations if you can skip past it. All right, so you don't want to teleport onto these stairs here. If you teleport onto those stairs, you will trigger the combat with everybody in this room. And anybody that's played this game knows that this room loves to eat every bit of your PC, because there's roughly 7 billion zombies in that room. Basically the entire population of the earth, like if they were all turned into zombies, they would all be in that room. So we basically just dimension doored twice. We are now out of line of sight of that boss. That was the boss there, by the way. We saw him for just a second. Just kind of wave high, wave by. So our whole plan, our whole purpose of being here is actually to save the entire population of a certain city that is kind of allies with us. And we finally level up for the first time since we got out of the Lich's room, which is kind of funny because we just left another Lich's room. We are level 15, so that is skill, focus, stealth. Finally get our last feat of the game. And one of my favorite spells of the game. I love Legendary Proportions. It is such a good spell. In my opinion, one of the best spells in Pathfinder. Buffing, anyway. One of the best buffing spells in Pathfinder. Gives you a increases your size by 2 instead of just by 1, like Enlarged Person does. Can be used on anybody, whereas Enlarged Person can only be used on humanoids. Gives you like a +8 to strength. Like just incredible amounts of damage. Increases the damage dice of your weapons by 2. So like, you know, if you're a medium creature, it does, was that large then huge damage instead of just large, or medium. So this is actually really, really nice. We got a very early encounter here, which means that we are safe from encounters for the rest of the time back to the capital. We are guaranteed to not get a single encounter from the rest of the way. So it's a massive damage increase as soon as you get that spell. I have tried to route in enough experience to get that a little bit earlier, because that spell would actually be really helpful against that Soul Eater fight. But unfortunately, there's just not really a way to get that kind of experience without spending way more time than you would save by having that spell. But we have it now, and that's all that really matters. So we come in here. Come in, and immediately Casil's like, oh my god, everything's bad. We're, my mama dearest is being attacked by barbarians. His mom is the one who hired us to do this in the first place, by the way. He is the adopted son of Jamandi Aldori, who is the person who sent us down. So he's like, oh man, I gotta go help my mama. She's fighting the barbarians up there. And I'm like, all right, I'll be right there. And then I wait like a month and a half. So we kill a little bit of time here to force a location to appear on the map, and also to try and run down the clock a bit, because we are getting to what I like to call the mouse accuracy practice portion of the run. As soon as we get past this next boss fight, I will be going to a certain location on the overworld map, and I will be skipping time there using the party manager, which you saw for just a second as we were getting rid of Ikundayo earlier. Every time you go into the party manager, even if you don't actually bring out, or even if you don't change your party makeup at all, it still ends up burning time. So that is one of the reasons that we have been moving slightly awkwardly on the overworld map at times, is to maximize the amount of time that we are skipping during that portion of the game. So right now we are just kind of killing time here until we see a specific quest to pop up. It is the Twiceborn Warlord. As soon as we see that one pop up, we will be skipping times 3 more times. And I believe, did it pop up yet? Let me just double. Okay, so there we go. So yes, so we're at 28 right now. This should bring us down to 17, I believe. 12, right? Yeah. And then one more time down to 5. This is the lowest that we can get this this encounter, or this counter down without losing. So each chapter, I did forget to mention this, each chapter does have kind of a doomsday counter on it. I have 5 days in-game time left on my doomsday counter for this particular crisis. If you do not complete the crisis before that doomsday counter gets to 0, you lose the game. It does not matter how well you're doing in everything else. You could have cleared out the entire map of everything else in the game. If you do not finish the primary quest of that chapter before that doomsday counter gets to 0, you will lose. So we bring that down to 5 days, and then we go and we deal with it. So there is a specific location on the map. It is called Armag's Tomb. That is the one that we were waiting for it to trigger, because after a certain amount of time, scouts will passively find it for you. You don't even have to go and look. And in doing so, see right there, right there. I don't know why I was showing that instead of just walking over there. So this is one of those times where I was like, what encounter is this? I've never gotten an encounter here at this point in the game. Oh, it's one that I don't care about. Yay! That's my favorite encounter. After you beat the trolls in chapter 2, there is a chance that you get that encounter where there are trolls on that map, but they're so scared of you that they don't attack you. And you can just immediately leave. So there is the Peaceful Traveler. We like to say hi. I do enjoy. He is known as Skeleman the Cellarman in my brain and chat. So here is Armag's Tomb. It is dark for some reason. I don't remember it being dark here, but I have to go. So those guys are supposed to attack us, but we just walk right past them because we're invisible and they can't hear us. There's some ghosties here as well. We run right past them as well. Hopefully this one goes correctly. I would like to fail that. No. Okay. Yeah. So this looks like a wall here, right? This definitely looks like a wall. This is definitely a wall, 100%. It is not. It's a door. We just have to, yeah, find a way to get through it. So here, I'm gonna make a quick save here just for safety's sake. This fight can kill me if I am unlucky. And if, well, basically if I'm unlucky.
Their life ends here.
Okay. Unlucky number 1. Yeah, see how much damage I'm taking? Yeah, see, there we go. So yeah, this fight can be really, really rough. Armok does do a lot of damage. And I think I've taken a fair bit of damage before I even came in here, right? So I might actually heal before I go. Yeah, I took a ton of damage before I came in there. All right, so let's pop a mass heal scroll. That's one of the other reasons why I take that is because I healed him with that. Interesting. Despite the fact that he is undead. So now that I have...
Their life ends here.
Ow. Oh, come on. So he needs like an 11 and a 16 to save against this. This spell does have 2 saves. There we go. This spell does have 2 saves. It has a will save to see if it does anything at all, and then it also has a fortitude save to see if it will one-shot and kill them. Oh, I had the wrong weapon equipped. That's why. So this was one of the fights where I'm supposed to have the staff equipped to raise the DC of my spells, but I was a dum-dum and had the wrong weapon equipped, so he had a slightly easier time to roll against my spell, which might have been why he was able to save as often as he did. He was a thing and stuff. So yeah. Here we go. And that is the end of chapter 5. So the thing about the different doomsday clocks, most of them will trigger regardless of what you do. But for whatever reason, the chapter 6 doomsday clock does not begin until a specific interaction happens in your throne room. So as long as you don't go back into your throne room, that doomsday clock never happens. So what we do now is we come down here. Please, please, please stop. This is basically one of those awkward moments where you say goodbye to somebody and then you both continue to walk down the same path anyway. That's basically what was just happening there. So we go to a specific place. And we want to skip a bunch of time. I also mentioned that we wanted to keep in mind our inventory at one point earlier in the game. We wanted this to be between 1 and 100. That is because we are currently going to destroy our bag of holding to get ourselves into heavy encumbrance. The reason that we want to do this is because we are now killing 9 days and 11 hours every time we do this. Whereas normally we would be doing about 6.5 days. So by having enough weight on us, that's also why we buy so many rations, despite the fact that we don't use even close to that many rations. We buy those rations because those rations are 10 pounds a piece, which that is a huge chunk of our current inventory weight is those rations. And we will be dropping most of those as soon as we finish this section so that we can get back up to our maximum speed on the overworld. So there is a specific date that we are currently aiming to get to. If you look at the top of the screen, that bar on there, to the immediate right of the current quest objective thing showing, this right here, it is showing 14 Gazrin, 4, 47, 13. What we are looking for is 10 or more Abadius, 1, 47, 14. So that is basically January 10th, 47, 14 of the next year. So we need to skip about 7 months worth of time here at 9 days at a time. To be able to start chapter 7 without chapter 6 failing on us. So we're going to overlap chapter 6 and chapter 7 just a bit, just enough so that we can get into and away from the kingdom portion of the game before chapter 6 will fail us and kill us. The earliest that I can safely do that is the 10th of Abadius in the next year. And yeah, this is another portion of the game where I would be like, this is, you know, slinging it over to the host for donations. Because this does take a couple of minutes to do this. And I tend to have to focus a lot because sometimes there's a lot of those, and sometimes there's not a lot of those. And my mouse accuracy isn't the best, which is why I call this a mouse accuracy practice portion of the run. I also have to keep an eye on the date as well. We have a few more to go. 5 or so. Give or take. By the way, all of these boxes coming up, all those negatives that you're seeing, those are all cumulative to my kingdom stats, which we never actually see in the game. But if I remember correctly, they tend to get down to like negative 700 at this point. And basically, if you are negative anything at all, it's pretty much your kingdom is dying and you're about to lose. But because we are on auto kingdom, unless we hit those doomsday clock timers, which we are done with that particular portion of the run. So we I did almost forget. We need to drop all but 2. Or 3's fine as well. You know what? We'll drop this as well. There we go. All right, so we just need to get down to less than 100 pounds so that we are no longer in medium or heavy encumbrance. So yeah, you move at roughly 67% of your normal movement speed if you are in heavy encumbrance, which is why we were able to skip so much time there, as opposed to what we would normally. So we come back here. There's going to be a couple of more throne room interactions that we have to go through before we can actually go out. So this would be kind of a nut. Like, basically, I would honestly probably tell them that they can just read donations until I end up leaving the capital here. Most likely. Because there's not really a whole lot that goes on here. We're just skipping things. We're just skipping through a whole bunch of different dialogues and interactions and stuff like that. There's not really a whole lot that's going on here. So I would probably be like, I would probably hop in and be like, hey, you know, we're done here. We're heading back to the capital, to, you know, get the quest officially to start chapter 7. And then go and start the final section, and then I would throw it back to the host for more donations, because yeah, there's not really a whole lot going on right now. This is what we're looking for. All right, so now we can head over. So that right there is the official beginning of chapter 7. We can run out. I'm going to do this. Use a little bit of a glitch. So you can actually run out there, rest, and that menu will stay up even after you rest. So you can immediately leave from your bedroom instead of having to run all the way back out. So now we click right here. This will take us out. And then we have to go into the forest that is all the way on the left side of the map. That is the only place that I believe... Actually, I don't even think that we can. Well, actually, this is one of the only times that we can save potentially a decent chunk of time on the way out to a location. By leaving one of these menus up. Most of the time, leaving these menus up is actually kind of detrimental when you're moving out to a new location, because you have to clear this before you can continue on once you hit an intersection that you need to manually decide where you want to go. But because we've already discovered this path all the way out to this point, we can actually save a good chunk of time by potentially by waiting until the very end of that to actually kill off that particular dialogue box. Okay, so that right there, that is a dragon's lair. You can go up there and kill them. We used to do that actually in the older route of the game, before we killed Farnrouse, back when I used to think that I needed Dimension Door to get into Farnrouse's room, before another runner by the name of Swango, who did a ton for this game recently, was like, hey, dum-dum, just clip through the door. It's easy. I was like, oh, okay. And then we did. And then we cut out, that was basically a half-hour cutout just from that. So this is basically the final section of the game. We are coming up on the end here. I want to run up here. Basically, we need to sneak past a whole bunch of different encounters. We have to run up here. And on this, if we go any further to the left here, we will trigger a cutscene that is very bad to trigger, and one that I would rather avoid at all costs. And now we buff up, because if we move basically from here at all, we will trigger a fight that I don't want to fight yet. Okay, now we go. Attack. So this is one of the final two fights. We have two Jabberwocks here that we have to kill. They can be kind of rough because they do have this burble ability which can confuse you. Which with my character, if I were to confuse myself and hit myself, I could very, very quickly die. Fortunately, because it is a will save and I am a sorcerer, and I'm a fairly high level sorcerer as well, it is a pretty unlikely event. Basically, I believe I need a literal nat 1 on my d20 roll to fail to save against it. So it is very unlikely that we do that. This is actually a pretty decent run. We're at 142 walking in here. So the reason that we rested out there is because we don't actually want to, again, we're trying to skip a cutscene in here. It is a fairly lengthy one, and we can skip it by not taking a step in this area. So if you just Dimension Door twice to get up to that well, to sneak in, you can avoid entirely the final... Those last few skill points don't actually matter. So we want to take School Power Transmutation because we are going to be using a transmutation spell on the final boss to guarantee success and guarantee a win. So the fun thing about this game is the final boss has a very glaring weakness. Her armor class is stupid high. Her will save is like a plus 42. She has such insane... Her reflex save is like a plus 37 or something like that. Even on story difficulty, even on the lowest difficulty, her saves are insane, and her armor class is like 50 sometimes once she's fully buffed. The thing is... Actually, I should just use invisibility. I should not be using Greater Invis here. The thing is... Oh, let's do E for skill checks. There we go. The thing about her is she has a very low fort save.
There's something here.
And there is a spell called Baleful Polymorph in this game. What Baleful Polymorph does is it is a fort save, and if you fail it, you are turned into a dog. And not a dog that's like good in combat. It's literally like a little bitty puppy dog that can't do anything. Literally cannot do combat actions. You can move, and that is it. So what you do is you Baleful Polymorph the final boss. Why is it doing that all of a sudden? I don't know why it's doing that all of a sudden. There we go. So again, we clip through the door, as we do. And then we use Dispel Magic on ourselves. We need to get invisibility off of us, which we got first try, which is great.
You think not?
My hound.
Because if you are invisible, this cutscene right here will not trigger. The hunter here, the Horned Hunter, actually needs to succeed at a perception check to see you, to be able to initiate that check. And for whatever reason, if you are invisible, he just can't ever see you, ever. We then immediately run away, rest, to get rid of, basically to allow us to get a sneak attack off onto Nyrissa. This is a little bit of time lost, but it is a safety strat that I use, to guarantee that I can basically get the drop off on her, because otherwise she would basically immediately have an armored class, an AC buff. She would immediately have a bunch of different abilities and buffs and things that we don't want to have to deal with. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We are not going to cast transformation just yet. We're going to come up here. We're going to save so that I can cast Baleful Polymorph. And basically, if we fail to save, we want to reload. We did fail to save, or she succeeded at the save, I should say. And we want to reload because that thing that she did instantly as soon as the fight started, that is the shield spell. That is an instant +4 to her armor class, which is not great for us. You succeeded again. She does have a 60% chance to succeed at this save. That is... Oh, wait. I am using the wrong weapon again. I have not swapped over to the staff, so that is probably why she's saving as often as she is. Okay. That was just unlucky. So we're getting a little bit unlucky with this fight here. I could potentially try to... try a second one. I should also probably save after I do this, but I'm being a little bit greedy. Are you kidding me? Okay, so we got it the second time. We got it the second time. So that's not too bad.
This will hurt.
So it's at this point, so she is now permanently in that form. The only way that she can get out of it is if I cast Dispel Magic and I successfully dispel my own spell off of her. Also, this guy kind of just forgot what he was supposed to do. So that is actually the run. We have one. We just have to have one more like conversation because this game doesn't need to end right now. There is it's a secret chapter at the end, but it's not really a secret because you're actually more likely to get it than not. So you have three options of what to do with Nyrissa here. You have the option to kill her. You have the option to make an alliance with her, or you have the option to let her go. If you kill her or ally yourself with her, the next chapter begins. And because of all the nasty stuff that she's done, most people, as far as I know, most people their first playthrough kill her. And then trigger that final thing where that big old like Final Fantasy X or Final Fantasy bomb looking guy shows up. He ends up being the final boss. He is known as the Lantern King. He is an elder.
Bring it before us as an offering, so that an eldest may sip from it.
Or an eldest, I'm sorry.
Having filled the cup, Nyrissa appeared before the gods of the first world.
And he is the one that kind of put all of this in motion, which, if you want to know exactly what happened, you can go and play the game. The story is actually pretty fun. I really enjoyed the story once I got into this game. But yeah, that's Kingmaker.
Well,
that's how it goes.
got what they wanted. We got a peaceful kingdom. Nyrissa
All right.
got her.
Be quiet, Lindsay. Lindsay likes to talk. And the end of the game, there's always in both of the Owlcat Pathfinder games, they have those end slides. It's like, this is what happened with this character. This is what happened with this party member. This is how your kingdom fared after you ended. And depending on the different options that you choose throughout the game, different things happen. Because it's a speed run, we get the worst ending because we don't care about any of that stuff. We just care about going fast, obviously. But there's a whole lot of stuff that you can do that changes what those final things do there. So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with that one. That's gonna be my submission, I think. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.